You're watching Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Hunger strike until McDavid's back. Who's in? Let's get into it with the lead.
I'm out.
I ate today too.
Yeah,
I had a roast beef sandwich before the show. Haven't made myself a good homemade sandwich in a while. Boy, did it ever slap. Roast beef is the best of the deli meats.
I feel like roast beef kind of fell off a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, then I'm bringing it back, baby.
Do you know, I heard a slang word the other day that I've never heard before.
Questions for our guests.
And it was spit. Somebody, I was playing in my co-ed game on Monday, and someone said spit as like a slang. I don't even remember how they quite used
Context, please.
No, it was just kind of like an aggressive slang. I don't know. I don't think it was quite like that. No,
that was my first thought.
No. Not like that.
Welcome in live from the Sports Closet studio. This is Oilers Nation every day. What is the best of the deli meats? Let us know in the YouTube chat. Boy, do we have an exciting show lined up for you. Connor McDavid is going to miss the next 2 to 3 weeks for the Edmonton Oilers. Frank Seravalli will join the show. And we're going to be joined in studio by a professional athlete. Erik Sabrowski. You've heard us talking about him a lot. He's back in town. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk to him a little bit. Will the Oilers give him a moment on the Jumbotron when he comes back?
Oh, they have to. Right?
Right? 5th ever Edmontonian to be in the majors, and he's an Oilers fan. They have to.
Yeah, they got to do it. Is he going to the game on for Monday?
Well, you'll have to ask him.
Prime hockey.
Prime Monday Night Hockey.
Yeah.
All right. He's going to join us at 12:40. So if you're one of those people that tunes into the show and is like, start talking hockey, you get 40 minutes of hockey talk, 41 minutes, because we'll ask Eric about the Oilers. Mm-hmm. And then the last 15 minutes, look at me, I'm going to talk to you like a toddler, because the people who complain about it, I think you're children. We're going to talk hockey for 41 minutes. Then we're going to have a little bit of time where we don't talk hockey. Hope you're okay with that.
A professional athlete.
Speaking of talking hockey, Dax is in and says pastrami. Roast beef deli is not king from Hurton Albertan. Agree to disagree. Corned beef or roast beef? There we go. Southpaw's in. You get it.
Corned beef is underrated.
Corned beef is good.
Yeah, my dad loves corned beef.
Last game, they gave Urkel a Jumbotron moment. Yeah, I mean, come on. If Urkel's getting one.
Do you know it was a moment last season that went very under the radar when the Oilers were playing? Marlon Humphreys from the Baltimore Ravens came to Edmonton.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of not spoken about. And he literally came for an Oilers game.
Because his kid's an Oilers fan.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Really weird.
He's like a good NFL.
Yeah.
The best corners.
And he came in like the dead shits of winter.
Yeah. Good for him.
Hurton Albertan said it's Chipotle smoked turkey. I don't hate that answer, honestly.
Montreal steak beef from Naeem.
I'm not a Montreal smoked meat guy.
Well, actually, when Eric was on the Prospects, they had Montreal cheese at the games. I wonder if he ever tried that. Ask him.
Burning questions for Eric.
We'll ask Frank for his favorite deli meat as well. He might give us a good answer. Although he doesn't strike me. I love our guy Frank. He doesn't strike me as a make a sandwich at home kind of guy.
Oh, no, but he's also Italian.
I disagree.
Ooh.
I think he is a guy.
Okay.
I bet he goes.
All right.
He'll eat a good sandwich every now and then.
Okay, good opening segment, guys. We're going to take a break and be right back. If we did radio, that's what we'd do. But we don't play commercials. I just read them. So let's get into, we did a little bit of talk on the YouTube chat. You know what we should actually start with? Just because it is relevant. It is the big story of the day. If you didn't see it, the Oilers officially announcing Connor McDavid going to miss the next 2 to 3 weeks. So if you include the game against Nashville, that would be, the game against Columbus, that's Monday the 28th. Let's go worst case scenario here, because I do think they will be uber cautious with this.
Yeah.
That means Monday the 4th is 1 week. The 11th is 2. That game against Montreal would be 3 weeks. Let's say he misses that one. It's also on Amazon Prime, by the way. Gregor kind of outlines it. Could miss 6 to 11 games. Let's say it's 11. Look at that quality of competition. You get Nashville twice. They're a tough out. I know they're winning. Nashville is good. Calgary okay, they've fallen off a little bit here. They're giving up a lot of goals. I'm not overly worried about playing the Flames because I think it's pretty easy to get up for those kinds of games.
Yeah.
New Jersey is tough. Vegas is tough. Vancouver is tough. Islanders shouldn't be tough. Toronto is tough. Montreal, okay. Ottawa.
In Montreal.
Yeah, in Montreal and Ottawa. So you're on the road. Like, those are tough games. Then you get Minnesota, who's 6-1-2 to start the year. Like, man, let's say it's 11 games. If they win 5 and go 5-6 or 5-5-1, I think we need to be very happy with that.
Totally. I completely agree. If they can just kind of keep their heads above water, get a couple of divisional wins in there, conference wins, you're going to be okay. Do you know what? They just need a win early in it. They need a win, honestly, by New Jersey. And I think they will. By all accounts, they've been playing better besides the Columbus game. I mean, back-to-back games, obviously overtime against Carolina, good game against Dallas. I think this could be good thing is the wrong way to put it because you're losing your best player, but like it can benefit them, I guess you could say.
Well, and that's kind of where I wanted to take this conversation a little bit is like, how long have we been fighting against the allegations that the Oilers are a one-player team?
Yeah.
When PK says it, we trash him. PK, open invite to come on the show. Amazon, hook it up.
Wear your Thriller jacket.
Sure.
Did you see that? He was
his Halloween costume?
Thriller, and now he wears it on the show. The actual jacket from that costume.
Cool.
Anyway, go on.
We argue against the idea of the Oilers being a one-line team consistent or one-player team consistently, right? This is an opportunity for those guys in the locker room to send a message to the NHL that they are not a one-line hockey team.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there isn't a better opportunity to do it.
And I think every player in that room should be looking at the guy to their left and right and doing that old cliche and going, we need to step up. And they should honestly take a ton of pride in these games. They should come out absolutely flying saying, we are going to win 8 of these 11. We are going to go pedal to the floor. We are going to play our best hockey. We are going to play like it's the playoffs. And we're going to go 8-3. And when Connor comes back, we are going to go on a run. But we're going to have proved to the entire NHL that we are more than a one-player team. Zach Hyman should take a lot of pride in the idea that people call him a McDavid or a power play merchant. Step up, play your best hockey. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is getting another chance to play down the middle. Show to us that you're a centerman or at least capable of playing that position at the NHL level. Jeff Skinner, show us why I said you have the potential to be a 40-goal guy in this lineup.
Yeah.
Show us why. Leon Draisaitl, listen, I know we talk about the old meme where like it's October through April and it's like Draisaitl and it's like, is he even top 10 in the NHL? And then you get to the playoffs in April and it's like, holy shit, this guy's better than McDavid. But like, let's go. Again, this is a chance if you're Leon Draisaitl to, as much as it's going to be a team collective effort, Draisaitl should be sitting there a little bit and going, hey, up on boys, let's go. I'm a top 3 player in the NHL and I'm going to fucking prove it over the next 2-3 weeks here.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like a lot of these matchups the Oilers are going to go into, Draisaitl's still going to be the best player. They should still have the best player on the ice over this next little stretch here. So that's going to be beneficial to them. I think the lines are interesting, but when you look at them, and we'll get into them, so I won't get too far ahead. But like that Janmark, Henrique Brown trio is one that stepped up in the playoffs when the stars weren't shining.
Yep.
Those 3 guys had that game. What was it? Game 4, game 5, whatever it was, game 6, and they stepped up. They scored those 2 big goals to start the game. That's what you kind of need in this. You need your depth, and I know the depth has done well, but in this moment in particular, to step up, and also these wingers now to prove that they're worth the money, like you said.
Rusty, I think this is going to bring the team together. Time to band together and win some hockey. And 100%, it's time to giddy up a little bit here. And as much as I'm sitting here, and I know that you guys think, and I guess understandably so, I'm a bit of a pessimist at times. I'm sitting here going survive 5-5-1. I will be happy with 5-5-1 over this stretch. It is not going to be easy. The team should be looking at this as something that can kind of galvanize them a little bit. So yeah,
totally. I think they're going to be fine. I think they just need to play better on the special teams again. That's how I think that is ultimately how they're going to get through this thing. And you look at that Columbus goal, the power play goal they got. It was so simple. They got the puck to the middle of the ice. Monahan got his stick on it. The Oilers need to really just simplify in that aspect of the game, and they'll be able to get through it.
Okay, quickly, I'm going to get to a few more comments here. It's the Odd Company YouTube chat brought to you by our friends at Odd Company. Very excited to be partnering up with them for the all-new Nation beer. It is delicious. It is new and improved. It is a crisp, clean lager crafted for not just game day, but every day. Pick up a can of the Nation beer everyday lager from our friends at Odd Company at your local liquor store. Go to Liquor Connect. Look it up. We started, Odd Company. Sorry, it was a small batch brewery right here in Edmonton. They've continued to grow and develop, and they're one of the best in the city. 2 locations as well for you to go try it, or again, pick up Nation beer. Let's get to a few of the comments. Maynard, I would literally celebrate 500 through this. Totally. And this goes back to, again, the concern with a sluggish, slow-ish start for the Oilers is you don't have the goodwill, you don't have the fortune of going 3-8 on this stretch and being okay. Yeah. You need to at least stay afloat here to some extent. What was the Oilers' record last season when McDavid was out early in the year? I think Rashog had a tweet that like McDavid missed 6 games last year, right? 7.
Maynard put it in the chat before. They were 1-6.
Yeah, so
but 2 of those games were at the end of the season when no one played well, quite frankly. No one was in the lineup. And then also, obviously, the start of the season before the Heritage Classic when the team, quite frankly, just sucked in general. So.
Yeah. Caleb is in. Do we get any cap relief for when Connor is off? How does it work with Philp and Caggiula up? Okay, you ready for the explainer? I'm gonna pretend to be Hart from Puckpedia, but a dumbed down version of it, because I don't understand the cap as well as him. Oh, perfect. You know what? I can just read Hart's tweet. That's even better. After calling up Philp and Caggiula, they did it today, not yesterday, for the cap purposes. The Oilers are now using the LTIR space from Kane for the first time this season. They have $4.75 million remaining in LTIR. So remember, for the first few weeks of the season, we talked about the importance of the Oilers accruing cap space, right? Mm-hmm. They had $1.2 million. And if they could have kept it at that until the deadline, they would have had north of $5 million to spend on an addition. The problem with that is as soon as there is an injury and someone has to go on IR, McDavid, you have to call someone up. And McDavid is not going to go on LTIR either. And then you have to start dipping into your LTIR pool, which you established at the start of the season. So now they are just no longer accruing cap space. When McDavid comes back, they send down likely Caggiula and another forward, and they'll be back to accruing cap space. But because they went 2 to 3 weeks without accruing cap space, then it's going to be less than the $5.2 million we kind of thought they would have earlier. So that's kind of how the math works on that. Make sense?
Totally.
Good.
Ish.
Shall we continue along with the show a little bit?
Let's continue on.
Let's continue along. Also, Aaron just stepped out, but okay, you good? We're good. There's a lot of moving parts today at the office, but we're going to get to the Star Mechanical guest line. It's Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can find out more about them online by visiting them at starmechanical.ca. We got a message in our studio chat. Leave it to the experts. Oh, well, speaking of the experts, Frank Seravalli is an expert. Let's bring in our daily face-off insider, Frank Seravalli, to the show. Frank, we had a hot debate in the YouTube chat off the beginning of the show today. Would love your take. I made a roast beef sandwich for lunch. I said roast beef is the best of the deli meats, and the chat said I'm crazy. Agree or disagree?
Disagree. It depends. Sometimes you get a really tough and chewy roast beef, and it has to be cooked appropriately. So I'm going to go with like a hand-carved turkey sandwich.
Ooh.
Turkey was getting some love. Someone said Chipotle turkey in the chat.
Yeah, that'll work.
Work. Frank, McDavid out 2 to 3 weeks. I think Bag Milk had a line that he said, worse than I had hoped for, better than I had feared. Whereas at least we're talking weeks, not months, but 2 to 3 weeks without McDavid, still not great for a team that's under 500.
I think this is the best possible outcome you could have. I mean, the only thing better than this is like, okay, McDavid misses 1 game on Thursday and he's back on the weekend. Yeah. Looking at that crash into the boards, that could have been a million things. That could have been a ligament tear. It could have been a dislocation. It could have been a fracture. It could have been whatever you want it to be. Or I guess in this case, don't want it to be. And the fact that it's a relatively minor sprain. The other part of the high ankle issue is it could be 6 to 8 weeks, and it could linger all season long. Like, this is by far the best outcome I think the Oilers could have reasonably hoped for, given what happened. And now it's on everyone else. It should have been on everyone else. There should have been some urgency on Monday night in Columbus when he went out of the lineup. Instead, they were more nervous than Liam sitting on his couch, fretting about this injury, because that's the way they played.
Liam didn't sleep for 2 nights. I was getting really worried about you, buddy.
I've just been refreshing your Twitter, Frank, waiting.
I bet you I'm on Liam's mute list.
No, you're one of the very few that has post notifications. You and Adam Schefter. So there you go.
That's like the biggest accolade of my career to date, I think. I feel honored by that. Liam hates everyone, likes Frank. Okay, all right.
And Adam Schefter.
That's the headline.
Let's talk. What you just sort of touched on was kind of the rant I did earlier on in the show, which was like, the Oilers have been fighting the you're a one-player team allegations for a while now. And listen, you don't get to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final by being a one-player team. But I really do think every guy in that room, whether it's Hyman or Draisaitl, all the way down to the new guys, Arvidsson, Skinner, they should be sitting there going, man, this is our chance to show to the rest of the league that we are more than Connor McDavid, and we collective are a Stanley Cup contender.
I would doubt that even enters their mind. Like, I don't think that anyone honestly looks at this Edmonton team and says that they are a one-player team. That's just my personal opinion. Are there different holes at varying points on this roster? For certain. And you could make the argument on the back end, but one-player team, I mean, that is a 2017 indictment. That's not the 2024-25 Edmonton Oilers. It just isn't. It's not even close.
Yeah. I mean, there are still people who I shouldn't even say qualified opinions that say it, but it is still a thing.
What, so people from Toronto? Like, I mean, who are we referencing here? Like, who would even say like,
all playoffs?
That's nonsense. Utter nonsense.
Okay.
The Oilers obviously called up Philp, but the other one they called up was Drake Caggiula. What do you think that says about what they think about that bottom six right now? Because they would have been under the cap if they had just called up Philp and could have kept accruing, right? If I'm correct, they called up 2 guys.
That is correct. So my understanding is Derek Ryan is the guy that's coming out of the lineup, and I think it's more of an indictment on one player singularly as opposed to the bottom 6 collectively. I think there's a real question mark as to how much Derek Ryan has left in the tank, and also probably not an incredible shock. I mean, think about what the conversation was like at the end of training camp. I mean, Philp almost straight up beat him out, and probably on merit did beat him out of a spot when it comes to earning that opening night lineup spot. And yet Ryan is there because of, if it's waivers or if it's cap reasons, whatever you want to call it. Certainly he's the guy that ended up sticking. Experience, veteran play, whatever you want to call it. But now playtime's over. It's go time, and the Oilers need the best roster that they can assemble. I'm not 100% sold that Caggiula is it, but I have zero doubt in my mind that this team is better with Noah Philp in the lineup than without him.
Yeah, like my take coming out of training camp was like, I do think Philp was the better player, but Ryan as the veteran, and call him the incumbent, he didn't play bad enough to lose his job. Like, I actually think Derek Ryan was good through the preseason, and also Philp hadn't played hockey in a calendar year at that point. Like, I agreed with, hey, send him down, let him play 18 to 20 minutes. And now my take on it and my prediction is, I don't think Noah Philp's going to go back down, Frank. I think the Oilers truly found a diamond in the rough. And I know I come with some bias there with the U of A side of things, but like 6'3", shoots well, skates well, thinks the game well, checks all these boxes, is good in the dot, right-handed shot, which the Oilers need. Like, he just checks too many boxes to not stick with this team.
I agree. And the incumbent, what that gets you is 1/8 of the season to start out and to show it that you can stay and continue to produce. Philp the time is right for a change, I think, at least to test it out. And I mean, for all the reasons you mentioned, I agree. To me, it's probably one of the most shocking roster movement things that we've seen in the NHL in a long time. Like, you mentioned some of the backstory, but this isn't just nearly making the San Jose Sharks out of training camp. This is nearly making the Stanley Cup contender favorite, and having played such little hockey over the past couple calendar years. Who does that? Who has an unbelievable summer like that, somehow improves their skating stride, as Bruce Kurlock has detailed on Oilers Nation, beats out established incumbent veterans, and also happens to shoot with the hand that the Oilers desperately need in the middle at the bottom half of their lineup. It's like, it's an unbelievable story. It's like, honestly, it's bordering, if you are an NFL fan or a history buff, or if you've seen the Disney movie, like, it borders on Invincible with Vince Papale, like literally going to Eagles games as a fan and making the team and playing a few years in the NFL. That's the type of ridiculousness that this story is.
I was going through some of my old tweets the other day. Again, like, I called his games with the Golden Bears. He missed the entire regular season, his last year with the team, came in the first playoff game, and in the first 20 minutes and 30 seconds of game time, he had 4 points, and the Golden Bears were up 4-1. Like, it's crazy what this guy's done. Also, I want to give some love to a few things in our chat, because they're hilarious. Derek Ryan, Sunshine and Cali, baby. No more Edmonton. So he's maybe looking forward to the waivers. And there was a very good joke in here from McHigh and Dry about to see Noah's Ark, but then Noah's player arc. That's clever. That's
See what
clever.
you did there.
Last week we asked you about the league-wide perception of Stuart Skinner. And as much as internally I am rolling my eyes asking you this question, I want to do the same thing about Darnell.
Please don't create a headline for me again. That headline the next day was brutal. But go ahead.
What is the league-wide? Because, like, it's divisive in the fan base. It's reached the point where, like, even the, call it lowest common denominator Oilers fans, like people who go to 5 games a year and maybe watch 30, they know Nurse has a bad contract and I can yell about that. And it's just like, it's such low-hanging fruit. Is he as big of a problem as this fan base makes him out to be? And we won't clip this, we promise.
Bigger. I think he is. Here's the situation as I see it. You have a $9.25 million player locked up for the foreseeable future at a time when you now need to give really expensive next contracts out, starting with Draisaitl kicking in, then eventually McDavid plus Bouchard, and at some point in time, Stuart Skinner. And he can't carry his own pair. You're not asking him to dominate the defense or, carry your team on his shoulders on the back end. Evan Bouchard's already that guy, and he's been that guy for a little while now. Is that too much to ask, to just steady your own pair and carry that? He hasn't shown that he's been capable of doing it for more than like 10 months now. So is it as big a problem as what you're saying? I think it's worse. It's the worst possible, to me, it's the worst possible conundrum you can find yourself in. Nowhere to go, nowhere to hide, and no signs of improvement. Am I being hyperbolic?
No, you're not. And maybe it's just blind faith for me, but I just think back to the player we saw in the Canadian division here, which I now know is 3 years in the past. Like,
dude, it is never coming back. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. And maybe it's time I have to stop thinking that it magically will. So you don't buy, just to end this conversation, you don't buy any stock into and I know because he's 9.25, but he's never going to be 9.25. I totally understand that. But
that's because that deal was signed at one moment in time. So I don't even, again, no one's holding that against him. Like, dude, get the bag. Totally. Seriously, it's not, no one's criticizing him for that. And I don't think even anyone's all over the Oilers, because look at the other deals that were signed at that period of time. It was 3 guys in 1 3-week stretch in the summer that rewrote the defense market that isn't going to see it get to that number for a long time.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. All good. Park that in the past. It's the way that his game has devolved for me, not evolved, that is the most troubling. It's the decision-making process. It's the lack of foot speed. It's the awareness. It's all these things that get piled into one. It'd be one thing if the conversation was, again, not, we don't need you to carry us. The simple bar has been set for Darnell Nurse is, please don't hurt us. And for too long now, he's been hurting.
Fair. By the way, the chat was loving your answer. Chili Yeg is in, our boy from down in Houston. Loving the honest takes from Frank.
Oh, not that one.
Yeah, we didn't want to show that one. Utah went out and got Ollie Mata, and you made a comment today on DFO Live. You're like, hey, why don't you go look at getting Timothy Liljegren? Is that a guy, if you're Stan Bowman right now and you're watching, like, again, Travis Dermott's back in the top 4 right now. I have not liked what I've seen from Dermott. Emberson is off to a slower start than I had hoped for. Stetcher is exactly what Troy Stetcher has always been. Is Liljegren enough of a needle mover for Edmonton to make that their move right now? Or are we just going to have to do what I'm doing right now? Sit on my hands and just play the patient game?
I don't think that's the answer. I mean, if you're the Oilers, you can't do this next acquisition because we've talked about the idea that this might be the only one you get to make. It can't be on a hope and a wish and a prayer. And that's all that Timothy Liljegren would be right now. If you're Utah, that's a different story. You're looking for someone to play above their head. You're looking for someone that might fit your age scheme. The Oilers, even from a cap perspective, 3 years, if he was maybe in the last year of his deal, I could see maybe taking a flyer and saying, can this guy find a way to get back to a level that he was previously at? He's had a crisis of confidence. At that point, like, not to bring this up again, but like, why wouldn't you have just matched on Philip Broberg, and at least if you're going to play the hope game, play it on a guy you know? That's my thought process. And from a Utah perspective, like, Ollie Mata is what he is. 15 minutes a night, third pair guy. But if you're trading a 3rd round pick, and not to say 3rd round pick matters much to a team that can't even sign all their picks, why not? If you're going to take the bat off your shoulder, why not swing? Like, Ollie Mata is not a swing. That's a bunt.
Fair. All right. You had a really good piece up at dailyfaceoff.com about franchise valuations in the NFL and in the NHL. And some of the numbers you shared are absolutely just jaw dropping, like the Tampa Bay Lightning being sold 11, 12 years ago for $100 million. Now they're worth $1.8 billion. It's crazy stuff. But the other thing you've done is interview Connor Bedard, and that is up now on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We're going to put links to both those in the description of today's episode so people can go check them out after. But give me, maybe without ruining a big part of the interview, give me something you learned about Connor Bedard in your conversation with him.
Well, he's not really into many things other than hockey. So that part is a challenge. We talked a little bit about football. He's become an NFL fan, and he's actually pretty decent at fantasy football. But short of that, like, when I went around the Hawks dressing room and I was like, hey, Nick Foligno, like, they sit right next to each other. What can I talk to Connor Bedard about today? And he looks at me, he's like, good luck. And then you talk to Pat Maroon, and you're like, hey, what's Connor Bedard into? He's like, oh, beats me, man. Like, I have no idea. No one does. No one knows. If you find out, can you tell me? And so I kind of went into it being like, oh man, like, this could kind of be like pulling teeth. Like, first off, how do you relate to a 19-year-old that's just on a totally different level than everyone else? And second, how do I draw that out of him with a couple cameras and a bunch of lights around? So my approach was a little bit different. Like, hey, let's talk hockey, but let me see if I can peel back a layer for everyone on how this incredibly elite thinker goes around the ice and processes the game. And so that was my approach. I think we were able to do that. And you can actually, like, get a sense of his problem solving abilities and the way that he even approaches training, like it's really fascinating. So hope you'll give it a listen, and feel free to grade me on the interview too.
It is up on the Daily Face Off YouTube. It is also available wherever you get your podcast from. Find it by looking up Frankly Speaking. Every week, Frank Seravalli joins us, usually on Wednesdays. This one was a good one, Frank. Thanks for popping in.
See you guys.
Bye,
There you
Frank.
go. There goes Frank.
See you on Twitter.
Chili said, this is why Frank is such a great voice. Lance gave Frank a B+. That's rude. Come on, Lance. He was good. The nurse stuff was really, like, again, I have a hard read sometimes. Do we, because we watch and follow him for 82 games, are we too hard or too light on certain players? So it's good to get Frank's take on that.
I think it's a bit of both, especially with a guy like Nurse, because you look at it and it's like, Frank's right. He should be able to carry, with the money he makes, any player that he's put next to him. I shouldn't say any player, majority of players, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's nights where Troy Stitcher's the better player on that pair, and it's not right.
Okay, we got a couple more segments we got to rip through before we get to our second guest of the day, one of which is the lineup report brought to you by Square. If you run a restaurant, guess what? You're too busy for this ad. Stop listening. Get back to work. You're thinking about how to get more orders flowing and new locations open. You need to get more customers and keep them coming back. So really, you're already thinking about Square, because Square Restaurant Tech has helped more than 400,000 restaurants already do those things and more. If you're thinking about your restaurant, think bigger, think Square. Go to square.ca and see why Square is big in restaurants, or hit the link in our description today. Oilers lineup down in Nashville. They were skating. It was a practice. They don't play till tomorrow. Draisaitl, Podkolzin, and Arvidsson is your new top line. I like that they are keeping this trio together. There is something there. I think, and listen, Canucks fans were clowning me saying, oh, we did this whole thing for 3 years with Podkolzin. I get it. I think there is something there in this player.
Okay.
I want to see the Oilers give him. They've given him basically 1 and a bit games now because the McDavid injury skewered up the lines really bad. Give him the next 3 games. He will score. I'm confident in it.
He might get the next 11.
He might get the next 11 if all things go well, but
yeah, I know.
Keep it together. They move Skinner off the Henrique Brown line. They put him with Nuge and Hyman. So Nuge slides to the middle. We had talked about how we'd maybe like to see Henrique with Nuge. And that was a duo that's had success in the past. I don't mind this at all. Skinner's playing well. Hyman needs to be a driver for you. Nuge is not an overly effective centerman at the NHL level, but he is at least competent. Put him with who I would say are your 2 best wingers right now and see what they can do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this top 6 is solid. I think if Philp can show, it's probably the right idea just to give Philp a bit of like a, hey, this is the NHL, like you're on the 4th line with Perry and Caggiula tonight.
Yeah.
Then eventually, if it works and Philp like kind of shows what he is capable of, maybe you can just do what we kind of thought, like push Henrique and Philp up and get Ryan back on the wing.
Down the middle.
Nugent Hopkins on the wing, and then maybe spread things out a little bit more that way too. And then you push Skinner down, give Philp, Brown, and Skinner.
Lance, $2 super chat, and Nobby, we trust. Shout out to Lance for making his super chat donation. Henrique, Janmark, Brown, again, like we said, that trio worked for the back half of the playoffs. See if they can find some magic. All you're trying to do here is catch lightning in a bottle for 2 to 3 weeks. Philp, Ryan, Perry, love that they're putting Philp down the middle, put him in his natural position, make him as comfortable as possible. He moves well.
Yeah.
He is playing with 2 players that do not. At some point, you will see Caggiula in for Ryan. Maybe it's as early as tomorrow, and they were just using today to get Caggiula up to speed and get him around the guys a little bit, and they'll play him. I think it's probably more likely we see him in one of the back-to-backs against either Calgary or New Jersey, but I think you'll see Caggiula at some point. You said it. They're no longer accruing cap space because they brought up both Philp and Caggiula. You didn't do that for no reason. I think they really want to test drive Drake Caggiula. That also allows me and my friend's favorite joke to return, which is anytime we say, like, anytime we're in the group setting and someone's like, oh man, could you imagine this? Someone goes, could you imagine, and use his name. It's so dumb, but it's so funny. Ekholm and Bouchard, Nurse and Dermott. I am probably done talking about Travis Dermott. Kulak, Emberson, Stetcher as number 7. Good. Keep Emberson in. Let him learn from his mistakes. He had a tough game against Columbus, but I'm willing to be patient with a guy who I think has the upside that he does. I just don't understand the Travis Dermott over Troy Stetcher thing, and I'm not sure if I will. You're flipping a guy who I think is a worse defenseman to his offside. Not great.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I don't. Yeah,
I don't. The Emberson thing, he obviously had his bad moments against Columbus, but I actually thought he was okay offensively, especially like getting the puck back up the ice. He did it a few times where it's just like kind of turns right away, tape to tape, blue line to blue line. I said, that's pretty effective play. And, you know, we kind of said like the others are effective when you can get the puck to the forwards quickly. And if he's able to do that and find that defensive game, I'll be happy with him. I'm excited to have Caggiula back. I like him. I have no reason behind it besides I think he was wrongly done when he got traded. He should have never been traded in the first place. He was doing well in the team and just looking at 7 goals, 29 games, 11 points. For a guy that was like a middle 6'4" during that time with the Oilers, like I liked him a lot. I'm excited to have him back. And we were talking on O&R yesterday, like how many players, and if someone knows the answer, I can find out. Please let us know. I've played for the Oilers and played in 3 different numbers.
Yeah, so I was just, again, going to go dig into this. I don't even know how you could get the answer to this. But the idea that, again, if he is going to be playing with the number 8, which he wore in preseason, shout out Ty Ratty, then it will be the 3rd jersey number he's worn as an Oiler. I can't think another Oiler's ever done that.
No, I couldn't think of one. We've thought of many 2s, but no one's maybe a goalie. That's the only thing.
Maybe, yeah. Gregor would maybe know. Pickard starts. I like it. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, but he played good in Nashville. He's coming off 2 back-to-back solid starts. Yep, Pickard's the play. Give Skinner a night off. You got back-to-backs coming where you know you're going to need both the guys, but I think, again, I am the ultimate Stuart Skinner apologist. Give him a night off. He doesn't deserve a start. Pickard's your guy. He's playing well right now. Give it to him. So there you go. That's what we got for the lineup report for our friends at Square. Quickly, an ad. Tomorrow is a Sherwood Ford Giant game day, which is brought to you by our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. They're hockey fans helping hockey fans. And not only, you've heard us raving about the valet service that's available for nation citizens. And again, you don't need to drive a Ford and you don't need to have gotten your vehicle at Sherwood Ford the Giant. Their valet service is available for anyone who needs a car service. Also, winter tire storage. If you go to get your winter tires switched at Sherwood Ford, they'll store them for you. They offer that as a service. So no more keeping them in your garage or in your shed or in your basement or in your living room or in your bedroom. Sherwood Ford will let you store them at the dealership. So shout out to our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant, one of the many things they offer. And also shout out to their partners at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, which is the sponsor of What's Trending, Liam. Again, hockey fans helping hockey fans at Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. The Oilers' new franchise valuation is up, according to Sportico. All 32 NHL teams are now over $1 billion. And the Oilers are 7th in the NHL at $2.4 billion, a 51% increase year over year.
Damn.
Boy, those expensive playoff tickets, they're paying off. We're top 10 in the league in franchise valuation, everybody.
What are we, the 3rd highest Canadian team?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep.
It actually does. I wasn't
better than Van, better than Calgary, better than Winnipeg. Yeah.
Would that make us, do you think we're a big market?
Yes. We are a big market team with a rich owner.
Hell yeah. Good for us.
Make high and dry. Can I store my 88 Honda tires there? Yup.
That's sick.
What else is trending? Oliver Shillington is playing forward tonight for the Colorado Avalanche.
Okay. But that's because they have no players, right?
Yeah. So save your nurse to forward comments. This is out of desperation, not out of strategy. This is not Brent Burns 2.0.
You're probably putting one of your best, is one of the best skaters.
Yeah.
In the NHL, probably. So,
and listen, if you're going to be like, why don't the Oilers ever try anything like that? They played Phil Kemp at right wing. It just didn't work.
Just didn't work. So yeah, that should be a prime example of why you should never say 11-7 in our chat.
Yeah.
Anymore.
There you go. Those guys at Yankee Stadium, can we talk about that and what's trending? Somehow they're being made out to be like mini celebrities. ESPN did a story on them. Pardon My Take tried to get them on. The guy, ESPN Jesse Rogers, tweeted out after the game. He was like, met up with these guys at a bar. They're buttes. I would argue trying to rip Mookie Betts' glove off in the middle of a playoff game. It's not something a beauty would do.
Did they get kicked out?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
And they've been banned from game 4 or game 5, but refunded their tickets.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that next time.
What's the hockey equivalent of what they did? You know what I've always thought about?
What that guy did when the glass fell.
Ty Domi?
When the glass fell.
And he put the helmet on?
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
I always thought if you were sitting front row, like where McMullet is, and there's the camera hole there, players on a breakaway, what if you snuck in a whistle and just like,
I'll throw a can like right where they're gonna skate.
ooh, don't do any of this.
A whistle, that's creative.
Or
That
a
one.
second puck.
Oh, throw it on the ice.
Oh, your other teams on a breakaway late in the game. You're sat where McMulloch sits. He just has a stash of game pucks in his pocket. So I got to do this one for the Edmonton Oilers.
Why
Puck on
didn't
the ice,
Money
2
puck.
pucks,
This one's worth 2.
got to blow it down.
like in that 3-on-3 arcade game where it's like fucking 2 pucks on the ice,
This
go.
one's -2. Holy shit! Also, this is the photo of what you're talking about.
He had a quote to The Athletic that was something along the lines of like, I just saw a ball that was up for grabs, and then Mookie started swearing at me. Not good.
These
Ball
guys
is
are gonna
clearly
be
in play.
these guys are gonna be legends in New York, though, right? Like this
Yeah,
is such a
but
Yankee
It is.
dick thing.
They
to do.
look like
Yankees
caricatures.
fans.
Also, when the ump came over and the guy's doing the thing where he's like, what? The wall? He was over the wall. It's like, yeah, man, you can't rip his glove off. God.
Respect for
I-
trying.
I
Respect for
turned
trying.
I saw that and I turned the game on right as they hit the grand slam.
Oh, Anthony Volpe.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. There's something cool about playoff baseball, especially the World Series.
Yeah.
If only we had someone to talk to that about.
About playoff baseball?
Playoff baseball.
If also, okay, yeah, you can go get our next guest here and get him ready to go. And we'll talk to him in a second, but it is our second guest coming up on the Star Mechanical guest line. Do we got to flash up an ad while we get him set up? It's a very loose show. No amount. Oh, look at the lid too. Very good.
Who's he brought to you by?
Star Mechanical and the Star Mechanical guest line. You know him, you love him. Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can check them out online at starmechanical.ca. Residential, commercial, emergency services.
You can talk.
Oh yeah, I know. We're getting things set up on our end. Bring it nice and tight to you. You really want to eat that thing. Bring the whole stand over if you need to. Very excited to be joined in studio by our boy Erik Sabrowski, Cleveland Guardians pitcher. What's up? How's it going? Welcome back home to Edmonton.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back.
So you did the drive back from Cleveland.
I did, yeah.
So what was the path like? How did it take you?
So Renee, my fiance, she works. She does an online teaching job in the evening, so that kind of made it a little longer. We did, 3 hours, 6 hours, 6 hours.
Golfed on the way?
We golfed 3 times in Wisconsin and North Dakota. And then, 10 hours from Grand Forks to Saskatoon. That was a bit of a grind. And then,
No kidding.
Then we only have 4 hours home. So it was nice. Made it home Saturday afternoon.
Nice. And you're back in the city. Have you been to an Oilers game, or when's the first Oilers game scheduled for you?
Sunday in Calgary.
Sunday
you're
in
going-
Calgary.
You're
Yeah.
driving again.
Yes, driving again. It's actually my bachelor party weekend. So we're going out for that.
Oh, not bad. First home game back. So Liam and I, last year we went to bat for Fernando because during the playoffs, remember they put Fernando on the big screen, but they didn't play a highlight reel for him.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
And we had Fernando on the show and we were like, hey man, we'll fight for you. We'll make sure next time not that we have any pull, but we'll make sure next time you get one. Your first Oilers game, they got to put you on the big screen, right?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I think we got a few things in the works.
I like that.
Oh,
I like
nice.
that's good. That's a good tease.
Yeah.
Obviously season ended about 10 days ago, but I wanted to go back a little bit further than that because you did give your first interview since your call up to Gregor, which we're not going to hold against you for giving it to Gregor
He's
over
the
us.
first one to call. I mean, you
Oh,
didn't. so-
I didn't want to bug you. I felt bad bugging you. And then Connor was like, hey, I'm going to reach out to him. And I was like, damn it, he beat me to it. Son of a bitch. But I want to go back to the call-up moment because we obviously had you on the show back in July when you were still down in AAA. But what was the moment like when you got the call up to the majors?
It was probably the opposite of how people dream about it. You think you're going to get called into the manager's office and come out and the team's all excited for you. But me and Renee were in a hotel room in Gwinnett, Georgia. And my manager called me at like 12 a.m. and just said, pack your shit, you're going to the big leagues. And so that was awesome. It was super exciting. Then his next words were, the car's going to pick you up at 3.
Oh, my God.
AM?
Yeah.
You're like,
So-
Paul, I'm in the
No
big
way you're
leagues now."
sleeping.
I slept for an hour in the airport. And that is it. On the floor, she's got a great picture of me just laying in the middle of the in between some seats with a sweater over my head, just passed out on the floor.
That is unbelievable. So you get the call at midnight. cars coming at 3. So then to the airport, and you flew and met the team. So like that whole 24 hours must have just been insane.
Yeah, it was long and quick, depending on how you look at it. Yeah, because then we had a 1 o'clock game in Cleveland, so it was a very quick turnaround.
What was the call like to your family to let them know?
Oh, it was amazing. Both my mom and my dad were wondering why I was calling them at midnight Eastern. So
2 a.m. Edmonton, or no, sorry, the other way.
10.
Yeah,
Yeah,
10.
I don't normally call my parents at 10 p.m. So they were wondering why I was calling them. But my mom said, actually on an interview the other day, so I FaceTimed her, and when she answered, I had this big smile on my face, and she knew exactly what was going on.
Man, that is so cool.
Yeah.
And I know, again, this is something that your manager, Stephen Vogt, talked about. I think it was right at the end of the regular season about you, but you got called up and then you had to sit in the bullpen for a while. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I was sitting there, I put my alerts on. So anytime you were warming up, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But you had to sit and wait for so long. That must have just been driving you nuts.
It was, I did my best to make sure it didn't.
Okay.
I knew eventually my time was going to come. There's no playbook for not pitching for 11 or 12 days, whatever it was. But I just, like I said, I knew my time was going to come, tried to do my best to stay ready with, my workouts and my throwing. And just, I knew that once the moment was going to happen, adrenaline was going to take me through it. And fortunately it did.
So I'm just trying to remember. I'm a baseball fan to an extent. That first game, we had it on the TV here, right?
The first game when you
Yeah.
got called up, because you did warm up in that first one. Yeah.
I was going to say, so you got the call at midnight that night, got picked up at 3 a.m. What time did you get to Cleveland that day?
I think it was about 7:38.
Okay. And then you had a game at 1.
Yeah.
When you were pitching, you were like, man, I'm so tired. I hope I actually don't go in right now. Maybe tomorrow.
No way.
Like, just being like, ooh, this is great, but maybe tomorrow could be awesome.
I don't
too.
know you well, Liam, but that, from what I do know about you, that is the perfect mindset there. No, man, I was fired up to get in a big league game.
Fair enough.
And then when I think we were down by a few, normal rookie territory.
Yep.
When they're down, and we scored a few runs. I was like, damn it. No, maybe not today. And then I didn't warm up for a few more days.
I like the mindset of like, fuck, I slept like shit. I don't want to work today.
Well, you don't want to go in and then you're tired. Maybe it doesn't go as well. You get a couple of days and it obviously worked out great.
Yeah.
But it's funny you say that, because that's exactly what Tyler was saying whilst we were here. Like, they're down by a few. This might be his time to go in. And you're like, damn it, they started scoring.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out.
Honestly, I'm happy we scored.
Totally.
but,
Yeah.
for personal reasons.
When you did get into your first game, first pitch, I know you were laughing about it with the reporters at the game, right to the backstop.
I was a little excited.
Yeah, what was going when that one sails? Did that rattle you, or did it almost like calm you down? I mean, like, okay, got that out of the way.
No, it weirdly calmed me down because I got the next ball and kind of gathered my thoughts, and I had a little chuckle with myself and was like, how cool is this? Like, I just threw my first pitch off the backstop. How cool of a story will it be, if I end up striking this guy out? And then the next 2 weren't strikes. And that's when it was a little more of like, okay, you've done this before. It's, it's the same game, just on a bigger scale. And I was lucky enough to strike him out.
Fight back, strike him out. It was something to watch too.
Yeah.
And I think, this is the video of you striking out Yuli Gurriel, nice and fired up as well.
Yeah.
I feel like as a reliever, you get way more leeway to be fired up too. Like, and I know
think
you
so,
showed
yeah.
it a little bit, and that's your debut. But like, I feel like any situation, if you're a reliever who goes way over the top, you're just endearing yourself to the fans.
A little bit, yeah, but you're also giving the other team a reason to maybe hate you a little more. And so there's a fine line between, being excited for yourself and maybe showing up the opponents. And that's something you want to toe.
That is also fair. A handful of other things that I want to go through with you, but you mentioned like that first time you're warming up, you're like prime rookie territory. You either want to be up by a bunch or down by a bunch, but that's usually where you get in. You did not stay in prime rookie territory as a reliever for very long. By the end of the month of September, like they were putting you in spots where guy on second, you're coming in. You were coming in close ball games. How did that feel? And like, I know you're a confident guy, but did that spark anything you in the sense of like, oh shit, I belong here?
Well, there's no greater confidence boost than getting called up to the big leagues. So that was great for me in that moment. I'd thrown in some big situations in AAA. So, runners on base, close games wasn't too foreign for me. And then it was just, doing what I thought I was capable of and throwing well. And I knew if, I kept throwing well, I'd be thrown into the fire a little more. And I'm very glad it worked out, and I did all right.
Obviously, what did you play? 8 games in the regular season and the playoffs game. Is there a stadium you're excited to pitch in next season?
Oh, that's a good one.
Toronto. Hopefully I get to go there. Boston. Some of the older some of the older stadiums for sure. Yeah, probably Toronto. Just being a Canadian kid, grew up rooting for them, and watched a lot of baseball games there.
Yeah.
You also got to pitch in a playoff game at Yankee Stadium. Like, what is that like coming out of the bullpen, the lights at night? Like, that whole spectacle must have been crazy. Was it difficult for you to like, hey, keep everything down, like you're good, like stay composed?
So my second outing was at Dodger Stadium in the regular season. And it was a Saturday night, and there's 50,000 people there. So I think that did a good job of preparing me for the playoffs. And then even the first round against Detroit, I pitched there, and there's 40,000 people there, and Detroit hadn't had playoff baseball in a while, so those fans were loud and ready to go. So I think there's some baby steps to get up to the Yankee Stadium, experience. Funny story from there. When the game starts, the bullpen walks out to the bullpen. We don't take a tunnel or anything. And in Yankee Stadium, it's like they have it down to science where it's only the road bullpen walking out at a certain time. And, we got booed by 40,000 people, and it was amazing. It was so cool. Like, to be, like you said, at Yankee Stadium and, having all those people boo, not just me, the other guys, but being part of the group that was being booed. I thought it was awesome. Right before we got to the bullpen, made eye contact with a fan and got flipped off. Like 30 seconds, like staring right into my soul, flipping me off, and just things that make you laugh. And I heard you talking about the guys last night. And,
I was gonna say, was it him?
Sometimes it might have been. Sometimes the stereotypes do fit very well, and they're passionate. Put it that way.
Yeah, you answered my next one, which was, did any Yankees fans do wild shit to you? But staring at you and flipping you off, and you're like, bro, you want to flip off Classy or something?
Yeah.
Why are you mad at me?
No, I was honored. Really, I was honored. I was like, hey, I've kind of made it, haven't I?
Yeah.
Was there a moment when you got to the big leagues where something happened you didn't expect it, or you like not even just on the field, but like off the field, but like, oh, this is what it's kind of like?
The amount of food we get.
Yeah.
The amount of food, there's always food. It's fantastic food. Whether we get on the plane, show up to the locker room, pregame, postgame. I think at one point I ate a ribeye for like 12 days straight. They always tell you when you come up, like, be careful with the food. You might throw on a few pounds. I threw on a few pounds, but it was winter, got to stay warm.
Yeah.
As Beg Milk says.
Yeah, you gotta bulk up a little bit. That's not bad. I always like hearing the stories of the young player coming up and whatever vets are there to help them. Was there anyone in the Guardians bullpen or just in the clubhouse in general who kind of really threw a hand out to you in this whole thing?
Oh man, I'm so lucky to have some of the vets that we did have on our team, in Josh Naylor, Austin Hedges, Alex
Canadian
Cobb.
kids too.
Yeah, Alex Cobb and Matt Boyd. Cobb especially. Before our first game of the playoffs, I walked up to his locker and, sorry to bother you, Mr. Cobb, but do you have any words of advice for me? And he's just like, man, it's the same game. You're going to be way more excited. There's going to be more people in the stands, but in the end, it's the same game. Don't try and be someone you're not. Don't try and do something you can't do. Just make sure your body's moving in the right way, and the rest will take care of itself.
I don't want this to come off weird, but I think about like from our experiences, when we went to the Cup final, we did media day, and it's like, hey, you're standing in the McDavid scrum, and there's like Friedman and there's all the big dogs. And I'm like, okay, like we're the two idiots from Edmonton. Like we probably shouldn't be here. But you mentioned like going up to Alex Cobb being like, hey, Mr. Cobb, like you're in the same clubhouse as those guys. Yeah. You are a major leaguer just like them. But do you fight with and I don't want this to be the wrong word, but like imposter syndrome, where you walk around and it's like, man, like that's Jose Ramirez, that's Alex Cobb. These are guys who have been in the majors, been stars. Like,
yes, absolutely.
It's tough to get over that, right?
Like another idiot from Edmonton just happened to make it to the big leagues. And like, yeah, man, some of the injuries I went through, I at one point thought I might not ever make it there. And so just being so thankful for the time that I have up there. No one knows how long it's going to be, but just trying to take advantage of it and really taking the sights. And yeah, like shaking hands with Jose Ramirez after a win. Funny, another Jose Ramirez story. I threw the 9th inning against the White Sox, and the last out was a missile hit right at him. And in the handshake line, he looks right at me and goes, "Don't let them hit the ball that hard at me. Don't do that." I was like, "Sorry, I won't do it again." Like, okay, I'll strike the guy out next time. But
he's probably kidding, but
he's
like,
obviously joking. But yeah, like it's yeah. At the time, is he joking or am I in trouble? Things like that, like because that guy's the face of the franchise, has been and will be, and that's a really cool guy to share a locker room with.
And if the ball gets hard at him and it comes up on him, he gets hurt. That's on you, dog.
Exactly. So all the hard hit balls were hit to the outfield from there on.
What's Steven Vogt like as a manager? He seems like the quintessential players manager just from watching the interviews.
Yeah, well, he was a player 2 years ago.
So like it's wild that like he was an A like 3 seasons ago.
He's the catcher, right?
Yeah,
there you go, Liam.
Yeah,
he was an all-star.
He was.
Yes,
I think
I
a couple
know it.
times. Yeah, and
Thanks, Liam.
And baseball has there's a skill set for a guy like Vogt who I'm sure would like to be a little bit more productive offensively, but they're unreal guys in the clubhouse. They're a catcher, which is a premium position. Like I think of Austin Hedges as being like that. Like, you might not always get the production you want, but there's so much behind the scenes that he does. Like Hedges runs all of our scouting reports and make sure everyone's feeling good and ready to go and knows what they have to do. And I think Vogt was the perfect choice for that job. We have a young team. He's a young manager. We're kind of all learning at the same time, and his messages to the team were really good.
I guess sort of one of the final few ones I have for you, and we're actually going to flip this because the World Series is still going on right now. Have you been paying attention to it at all, or are you one of the guys like season end, you're like, I'm done, I'm not watching baseball?
I've been watching.
Yeah, okay, well, let's get into it quickly. It's our other sports report brought to you by our friends at Bet365, largest sports betting platform globally. You can download the app today and use the promo code NATION. That is NATION, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. The Yankees stave off elimination last night. For you in that series, the broadcast gave you the moniker of you were the Juan Soto guy. You were on Juan Soto duty. You went toe-to-toe with the best hitter, one of the best hitters in the majors a handful of times, and you got him. Like
That was so much fun.
Yeah?
So much fun. Like Juan Soto, Yankee Stadium.
Doing the Soto shuffle back at you.
Yeah, I think that can be a little tired, but that's a great player. And it's a guy you don't want to beat you. I mean, you don't want anyone to beat you, but if you're going to go up against anyone and win, you want it to be Juan Soto. That was awesome.
So what I like about this World Series matchup, as much as I hate that the Guardians are not a part of it, is we can ask you the question because you went toe-to-toe against Freeman and Ohtani, and you went toe-to-toe against the Yankees guys. Which one was tougher to get through? Which one had you shaking a little bit more? Who gave you the better fight?
Well, I think the Yankees did a little bit better against me than the Dodgers guys did, but Ohtani, his presence in the box is otherworldly. Like Aaron Judge is huge, but he's just a big person in the box. Ohtani felt like he was 10 feet tall. Like just with the numbers he was putting up at the time, when he comes up to bat at Dodger Stadium, it's like they hit a walk-off home run, how excited the crowd is. And you really, sometimes loud is loud when you're on the mound, but like you noticed at Dodger Stadium when he came up, it's like, this is the next level. And so, I enjoyed facing all of them, but I think my time facing Freeman and Ohtani was probably, I look back, a little more favorable.
Yeah. And Freddie Freeman is just on fire right now,
Did
too.
you get one last night?
Yeah, he hit another one. First inning.
What?
Yeah,
Nice.
watching him hit all these home runs off left-handed fastballs, it's making me feel good that I managed to sneak one by him.
That is, absolutely a great point as well. So what's the winter look like for you? Are you going to stay in Edmonton the whole time? Keep working with the guys you've kind of always worked with?
Yeah, I'll be here till sometime in January, I guess. Still working at AHP in St. Albert and, trying to build a base for another good season.
Still working with Taylor Burns.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it is cool as well. Like, I mean, you went through 2 major surgeries. Like you talked about, you didn't know if you'd ever get back to that point. Did you have any moment of like, hey, maybe I should stay in the States, find something there? Or was it always just no doubt you want to come back to Edmonton, keep working with these guys?
No, I'll always be around Edmonton. It's my home. I love it. It's where the Oilers play. It's all my family's from here. It's you can't beat home, right? And Edmonton's my home.
Selfish question. Do you think you'll keep the number 62?
I'll take whatever number they give me. It's the number in the big leagues, man. But probably.
Yeah, Tyler got a jersey for his birthday.
You did.
I did.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
fiance
awesome.
Amber, but I haven't gotten it stitched yet. because I wanted to make sure you're going to keep 62. And Chalmers said I'm a loser for doing it.
I think you're doing just fine.
Thank
Listen
you.
to Chalmers.
Go to hell, Chalmers.
Another one of his bad takes.
I have a final question, unless you have more.
No, I'm good, Liam. You can ask the last one.
I hope this is right.
Yeah, this could go one of 100 ways.
You hit a home run against the Swift Current 57s for the Edmonton Prospects in the playoffs.
Yes.
I was behind home plate that night.
And I was doing play-by-play for that
Can
game.
you walk me through the moment, if you remember anything? Because that was the only home run besides Jay until this season I have seen at that stadium. And I was like, this is
Besides Jay. Wow.
Yeah, up
Lofty
until
territory.
yeah. So
I've got
you
highlights of him striking out Judge, Stanton, and
Yeah,
this
and,
one.
you go. Last question: a home run against Swift Current
Wow.
6 years ago.
People want the deep stuff.
You're going to be amazed by how much I remember about that. I don't remember the pitcher's name, but I remember our scouting report on him was 50-50 fastball slider. And so if you saw the ball start in a certain place, you'd take it because it would be a slider that go away.
Okay.
And if you saw it start in a different spot, you knew it was going to be a fastball. And I swung at 2 sliders that started exactly where they said not to swing. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm pretty sure that's how it went. And then thankfully he threw me a fastball and he found my barrel and managed to get out. That's a big part. I played in a lot of baseball stadiums.
Yeah.
That is a big part.
And the difference between you and Jay is Jay was out of the batter's box when he hit.
Well, yeah. So if you
Was
see,
he?
see Jay out there, so we did his whole. He wanted it a home run.
right.
We did it for like an hour and a half, and he was not hitting it. So the problem was he kept hitting it to center field.
Yeah,
So we moved where the pitcher was throwing from and angled him differently so that his far ones were going right down the line. So if he tries to flex on you, you can throw that back at him.
Well,
It's
his has an asterisk. That's
it
fine.
does. Yeah, it's
That's
Mickey
fine.
Mouse shit.
It's honestly I'm not joking. That is one of my favorite baseball moments. Like being at
Jay's
that-
home run or
No,
Eric's home run?
Like, that was cool because I don't know.
Thank you.
It was awesome. To
We
be
all
there.
thought we were going to win the series then. And unfortunately, we didn't. But,
No,
you know,
yeah.
at the time, it was awesome.
It was cool. I didn't want to
Way
bring up
too
that
excited
part,
going around the bases.
Are you one of those sicko athletes who has like the photographic memory? Like if I asked you about an at bat in AAA from May of this year, would you be like, yeah, okay, I can tell you everything that happened?
I don't know. You want to
Maybe.
try it?
I mean, we have. Oh man, I have your game
have
logs
time.
open right here. Like, there's no doubt you remember all of your MLB stuff. Like, if I were to ask you again, the September 12th against the Rays, like you pitched an inning in a third, you struck out 2 batters. Who were they?
Oh man, they were Taylor Walls and Christian Morel.
That's solid. But if we were to go to, I have to go to your AAA game logs. Luckily, they all pop up very quickly here on my
Some might be
computer.
tougher.
What was your last AAA at bat or last AAA batter you faced? What happened?
Was it a slider to Henry Davis that he flew out to left?
Yeah, you pitched an inning in a third, and that was the last batter you faced.
Oh,
Okay, that is impressive.
I won't always have the names, but
Yeah.
I can remember, batting stances and maybe the sequence.
Also, yeah, no, that is really, really good. All right. Okay, I think we'll
Glad
wrap
that
up.
worked out.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was triple checking it there at the end. And it was like, oh yeah, no, you did nail that. Wrap up with an Oilers one. How worried are we about no McDavid? It is kind of sick that you come back and now you don't get to watch Connor
I know,
McDavid.
that part hurts. We do this every year where we're kind of, lukewarm to start the season, lose some games we shouldn't, win some games we shouldn't. Him being out makes it a lot tougher, but I think with this team, just get into the playoffs. The division standings don't matter. Just get in. You're going to have to play the hard teams eventually anyways that we've seen. So I think they're fine. More than fine.
I think they're gonna be fine too. 5-5-1 in the 11 games without McDavid. Let's just get through that heater after that.
3-2.
That math adds up.
Yeah.
That's 11 games.
Awesome.
Okay, I
Why
feel
not
that.
try and go 11-0?
Why not? They went 16-0 last year.
Listen, I've got myself in hot water saying chili before. If they go 11-0,
You
I'll
heard it here first.
eat.
Cat food.
Oh.
Come on.
Take a
Nah.
fastball from Eric to the ribs.
No, oh my god! If I listen, I hated my cat food. If I had to pick, it's cat food over the fastball without a doubt. That is an absolute non-starter. Would you rather eat cat food or not breathe for a week?
What's better content, Tyler?
I actually think the people might argue with you on that one a little bit. They might want the cat food. Really appreciate your time, man. This was a lot of fun. Welcome back home. Great job throughout the season. We look forward to seeing what you can do going forward.
Thank you. And congrats on the fantasy football win.
Oh, yeah. So that's the other thing, too. This is going to go forever, but thankfully there's no rules. Your MLB debut was happening while the Nation Fantasy Draft was live, which
Correct.
was hilarious because I was in another fantasy draft at the time. So I had laptop open, fantasy draft 1, iPad going, fantasy draft 2, and then I had Erik pitching in the majors here while Erik's auto drafting in this fantasy league. That was hilarious, but you ended up getting Jane Daniels, so it worked out.
Did me well.
Oh, nice.
Did me very well.
So how soon after the game did you remember, like, oh, I had a draft?
Probably on the bus ride to the airport. And I looked at my team, and when I saw it, I was like, shit, these guys suck.
I think you had like 5 quarterbacks.
Shows you how much I know. Yeah, we had 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Only one of them was a starter and 2 kickers. So shout out auto draft.
Yeah, it ended up working out for you. Okay, this was great. Everybody in the YouTube chat, fantastic stuff. Tomorrow, Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the show. Jay's going to be by. We're going to be doing all of our usual stuff for Sherwood Ford and Sherwood Power Sports and Marine.
Are we dressing up tomorrow?
Yes.
You have
I'm dressing up all day on all 3 shows.
Yeah, you have 3 costumes.
I have
picked
3
out.
costumes
That's
for 3
weird.
shows.
That's a little much, but that's fine.
Should I bring a Snoopy costume for you?
No, I'll wear a costume. Are you
Okay.
gonna do? You're not doing Charlie Brown again, right?
No, I'll change it up.
Okay, you're change up. Okay, we'll dress up tomorrow. We'll do a Halloween themed edition of the show tomorrow. Sherwood Ford the Giant, all of that usual stuff. I think that's everything we had to say today. Oh, no, we have a video feature to end the episode with for our friends at Alberta Blue Cross. What does Alberta Blue Cross care about? Protecting your memories through their travel insurance. If you're going on a trip, you need to hit up Alberta Blue Cross. Speaking of memories, they love the memories you can make through the sport of hockey. And we are going to end today's episode with a chat Aaron had with our friends from Alberta Blue Cross.
All right, it's time for our Alberta Blue Cross Meaningful Moment of the Month. Today we're joined by Rihanna, not the singer, the director of digital from Alberta Blue Cross. Rhi, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
I'm happy to have you here down in the River Valley, down in our studios. You came dressed for the occasion. I see you got your Oil shirt right there. So start off there. How big of an Oilers fan are we? And how did you handle the Game 7 loss this past season?
Oh, that was a tough one. I won't lie. There were a lot of tears.
I'll never be over it, actually.
I will not be over that one. That was tough. I've been an Oilers fan as long as I can remember, to be honest. The run was very exciting, but very heartbreaking in the end. We were so close, but I'm super proud of the boys. They did a great job.
Super proud of the boys. I said being down 3-0 in the Stanley Cup final that basically if we won 1 game, I was going to treat that like my Super Bowl. Yeah. Well, we won 3 games, so I had 3 Super Bowls. It felt like in there, but better get them next year. That's right. So you mentioned you grew up in British Columbia, and I know a lot of our Oilers fans out there, we've kind of built a new rivalry with the team out west in the Vancouver Canucks. I'm just going to ask you straight up, were you ever a Canucks fan in your life?
I was not ever a Canucks fan, and nor will I ever be. And we're going to take it to them this year.
Yeah, exactly. Vinny Desharnais, I love you, but he moved on to the Canucks. Yes. But that love, it frankly might be over. One thing I want to talk to you about is some, meaningful moments that you remember in your hockey career life. And you just told me quite the story that I am quite jealous about involving Connor McDavid, Vegas, and his 21st birthday. Dare you say more?
Well, I should, because people will think I actually had a great time out in Vegas with McDavid with that intro. We actually flew down for the first game that the Edmonton Oilers played in Vegas, and I will say quite an experience from the flight to walking down the strip and high-fiving every Oilers fan we could see. Lots of jerseys. We completely filled their barn, which was amazing. And I like to say that Edmonton taught them how to be fans for hockey, because that was a pretty epic game. Nursey scored overtime off of Caggiula, so it was a 3-2 victory. And I do recall the fans, we all sung happy birthday to Connor. I think it was at the 13-minute mark, because January 13th. He got to celebrate a win in overtime in Vegas on his 21st birthday. So that was a good time.
Does it literally get any better than that for your 21st birthday? And being Connor McDavid in general would be pretty cool. That's such an incredible experience. I'm so jealous. And big shouts out to you guys for singing happy birthday. I remember hearing that on the broadcast and being like, I'm so proud to be an Oilers fan. And I don't know, the community, the fandom that comes with it. You saw that a lot this year in the playoff run. As the streets, they were a talking this year. I want to ask you about your favorite Oilers player growing up in your lifetime? We just said before, it's tough because you can't really pick Connor and Leon because that's the answer everybody's going to give. You mentioned a little more under the radar Edmonton Oiler and said you might have a story with him as well.
So Ethan Morrow, he used to play for the Oil.
Captain.
And definitely enjoyed the grittiness that he applied to his game and was quite embarrassed with a run-in with his mom. So I used to work at a location we won't state, and his mom was actually one of the patrons that came in, and I was visiting and talking to all the ladies and said, "What does your son do for a living?" And she goes, "Oh, he plays hockey." And I was like, okay, like a hobby, but like, what does he do for real? Like, how does he make?
What's his income?
And so she's like, "No, he plays hockey." And then I'm starting to put things together, and I'm like, wait a minute, she's visiting from Ontario. Oh, the last name is Morrow. And I'm like, oh no. So I was like, does your son happen to be Ethan? And she's like, yes, I'm very proud of how he's done for the Oilers this year. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like one of the best days ever. So yeah, it made it quite a neat run-in, and one that I'll remember.
Shout out Ethan Morrow's mother. Thank you for raising such a stand-up son who became the leader of the Edmonton Oilers. Those were some dark periods to be an Oilers fan.
They were.
But you still appreciate those guys that, dug in and stuck in to be an Edmonton Oiler, like a Ryan Smith. Let me ask you, who's your favorite all-time Edmonton Oiler? What comes to your head when I ask that question?
Oh, man, there's been so many greats. I do love Smitty. I was there for his retirement game, which was one of the saddest games of my life.
Oh, tearjerker.
He cried a lot. Yeah. I think before even Stacey came out in the Canucks, all shaking his hand like he was just, he was Smitty. So I think that was pretty epic. But I do have to say, out of the, I guess, our legacy era, I would say Coffey. Definitely just outstanding skill set. Love that he's come back to like help us grow the team and the defense, of course. So yeah, pretty pumped.
He is one of, if not the most skilled offensive defensemen that I wasn't alive during those times, but I've watched enough tape to know that. And you look at guys like Evan Bouchard, who are just starting to explode offensively and on the power play. And there is no coincidence that those two things go hand in hand. Obviously, this year didn't go the way we wanted. It was a lot of fun in the Cup run. But tell me, where are the Edmonton Oilers going to finish this season? Am I going to end the year with a smile on my face, or maybe a couple more tear-jerking moments like you mentioned?
I think there's going to be some nail biting, but our boys are going to bring it home. Cup's coming here, parade, I'm calling it.
You hear that, Vancouver? That's right. Thank you very much. Big shouts out to you, Ree, for joining us today. Our friends from Alberta Blue Cross, if you're planning a trip, make sure you remember to pack travel insurance from Alberta Blue Cross. When you've got Canada's most trusted travel insurance in your back pocket, you can focus on making the right kind of memories while you're away. Visit ab.bluecross.ca/travel for more information. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much.